I'd like to say I'd like to say hello to all the people who are going to check this out, both while it's live and then later on. Um, there's been controversy over the period of the last couple of days in relation to Kanye's support for President Trump, claiming that both of them have dragon energy and they're brothers or something to that effect. Um, my stance has been if you want to support whoever you want, I have no problem with it. Um, so to see people like John Legend, for example, coming out and critiquing him is kind of irritating. Let me say hello to O'Donohue. But the reason I'm covering this story is because it actually has now escalated to involving a politician that I frankly believe is the worst sitting member of Congress. So if you ask me who would be the one like out of the chamber of the House, which has over 400 members, and the Senate, which has 100 members, who I would want to be removed or just lose no matter what, this would be the number one person. Representative Maxine Waters stated, Kanye West is a very creative young man who has presented some of the most revolutionary material in the African American community. But we also think that sometimes Kanye West talks out of turn, and perhaps sometimes he needs some assistance in helping him to formulate some of his thoughts. Now, I have a problem with this comment beyond the fact it's coming from the person I believe to be the worst sitting member of Congress. Um, what a lot of people in the establishment media and a lot of individuals who have this basically what the argument I would make here is that if he had come out and said I love Obama, you would not have controversy or distaste or aggravation. And let me just respond to O'Donohue. It's terrible when people hate on celebrities because of who they support. Exactly. But I want to pursue something a little bit more here because you have to understand. I have stated before I am no fan of Trump. I'm also no fan of Obama. And one of my problems with Trump is that he's continued many of the things I lambasted Obama for, whether that's the wireless, the wiretapping, the surveillance programs that started under Bush, the drone strikes, which again started under Bush, the Afghanistan war. These are just many things that Trump and Obama have in common. The lack of action when it comes to the violence in these inner cities, many things that can be laid at their collective footsteps. So when I hear people trying to make it seem as if Trump's so horrible and so different from Obama, when I know that if Kanye had backed, Trump's direct predecessor, there'd be no outrage. It annoys me on a level that is understanding of their similarities, but their different images, in spite of um, a continuation in policies between both of their administrations. Now, what really is kind of surprising to me is the fact that we're so shocked by him making a comment that was, sort of bold or, um, not necessarily in line with established ways of thinking. So, for example, people will go back to during Hurricane Katrina when he said that George W. didn't care about, blacks or whatever. And even if people thought that, they wouldn't directly say that, in front of a camera, at least if they're, some public official or some figure that is notable. So it was something that drew attention. Now, here it's drawing attention again, but this time it's reversed rather, because now it fits out of the establishment thought, where they try to brand Republicans as so horrible. So when you have a person of minority say, I don't see him that way, there's this willingness to just completely go after that person. Says, yeah, they are biased in who they support. Remember O'Donohue, they're going after a president who is literally um, having multiple positions and issues in similarity with the president prior to him. And if he had said, I am in favor of Obama, it would just be another day in the hood, or in the news, rather, whichever way you'd like to refer to it. And, what bugs me the most about that comment, and this is, going back to her thing, she makes it seem as if this is, like a little guy or something. This is a middle-aged man that she's saying needs help formulating his thoughts. What other thought can you have than to just say how you feel. Now, I don't. I think the phrasing of it with Dragon Energy was a little bizarre, but I don't put much emphasis on, oh, I need someone else to type this out, and I have to consult my political advisors if this is an endorsement I want to make. Let me say hello to Saberwolf. They would go after if he supported. Yeah, definitely. But again, it's what they won't recognize is that. So you have to understand something. With a lot of those people who are online and writing these nasty comments, they're not going to sit there and hold members of both parties to the same standard. And that's true with politicians from both parties. We have the old adage that you know Obamacare, for example, started when Romney was governor from the reverse party. You're not going to hear that claim be made of how Romney's proposal was so bad by Democrats now that it's been adopted by a Democratic president or after it was adopted by some of the opposing party. Really, they just they take positions, um, and once it's flipped to the party they don't like, it suddenly becomes an issue. Obama's drone strikes and mass surveillance and going after government whistleblowers wasn't a problem until it was Trump doing that. We see a little of the MLG gaming. Mm. I'm actually almost kind of out of words. I just wanted to see what everyone else in the chat room was going to say. But apparently, you guys are more interested in hearing me address the topic at hand. I don't know. All of it just is so bothersome. The one thing I like about it is that it's at least different from the continued, you know, every African American or personal minority must despise Trump. How do you feel about Trump's wall? A what is this? How do MLG Gaming? You're asking me how do I feel about Trump's wall egging on or odging on? I'm not sure. Can you explain it to me? Let me see a little Dirk. How could it ever support something other than a Democrat? I mean, that's what I do. I tell you openly that I'll take the Republican George H.W. Bush over any of his successors. Which, ironically enough, that same congresswoman I just told you about, Waters, she called the older Bush racist. So now, and if you don't believe me, I can pull the article up right now of her back in 1992 calling the older Bush racist. And I thought it was really funny because now every time she says Trump is, I can't even take it seriously because I know you just threw that word around all you wanted to win an election. I mean, every single person from the party you don't like is now biased against your ethnic group. Okay, agging on. I don't know what that means. How do you feel about the wall? I think it's a waste of money and time. Um, I think the whole issue of immigration just isn't. I would personally give them either amnesty or just bring them in, and then whichever ones break the law, send them back. And actual felonies, not I was caught trying to get a prostitute, nothing of that nature. So that's personally what I would do because we have more people who were born here committing crimes than by an overwhelming numbers. We actually, and that's kind of the thing. There's a number of issues that are kind of kept secret and hidden. So for example, you'll hear about gun control, but you won't hear about regulating vehicles, um, in spite of the fact that you have thousands of deaths by car just across the U.S. Okay, O'Donohue says, how much better would you say George H.W. Bush was than George W. Oh, they night and day different. I mean, the older Bush built a coalition of tens of countries to go after Iraq when they invaded Kuwait, so that we wouldn't be the only one having to clean up the mess. Whereas with the younger one, you just invaded another country for the sake of thinking that they had something to do with a terrorist attack that you were warned of beforehand, did nothing to prevent. The older Bush didn't, actually cared about signing environmental bills, whereas now Republicans of the current era, like to say that climate change is just fiction that the liberals have conjured up. The older Bush actually banned semi-automatic rifles. cost him the endorsement of the NRA. Whereas Republicans of the current era just sit back and let people get their brains blown out. So I really have no qualms with him that I wouldn't have with his son. And he is, I give him probably a 7 or an 8 to his son's 2 or 3. There's just really no comparison between the two of them. Night and day different. They just happen to have the same name, unfortunately. And because the younger one was in office longer than the older one, that means the older one will always be overshadowed by his son. Okay, I have some pity with Trump. Why so? Is this another kind of useless space taking Congress? Another kind of useless space Congress talk? What are you saying, Dirk? What space taking Congress? Are you saying that the congresswoman I mentioned earlier? If so, yes, she is wasting space and has accomplished nothing other than running her mouth and appearing on television. And it's not just directly having to do with her, but she keeps talking about impeaching Trump, but will readily tell you that she doesn't like Pence. So, why would you want one if you already despise the other? Coca-Cola. Okay, let me see who else is planning on saying something, or if this is the conclusion of our chat and discussion here. I don't like the dead time because when you watch this on the replay, you're just sitting there staring at me. And you don't know I'm scrolling and trying to make sure I've addressed what everyone has said. Do you really not? No, MLG Gaming is playing around. Don't fall for it, O'Donohue. Well, I'm pretty much tapped out. We've spoken about the main issue here, both the congresswoman and the comments. Let him do what he wants. Who cares? Yeah, and Sabre, if you have to remember, a lot of people who are becoming outraged by his comments, um, I can guarantee you don't follow his musical career. Couldn't tell you the names of any of his albums. Probably couldn't tell you any of his songs except for "Stronger." So really, I don't see why he should take them seriously. MLG Gaming, that will be during another day. Let's see, is there another? Uh, there was another. Oh, and then I like Kanye's thing about how because Obama spoke so properly and high class, he lost the backing of the middle class, whereas Trump was able to capitalize on that because of his rhetoric. And part of that is true. The problem is, how did Obama lose support from them if he won both presidential elections he was in? MLG Gaming says he wants Obama back. I don't know why. Oh, he already is back, remember? I told you, if you miss Obama, you have his, let's see, you still have his drone strikes, you still have his Afghanistan war, you still have the lack of action on the banks, you still have the lack of action on the inner cities, that they're all there. Exactly. Even if I don't care, agree, I'm not going to just act like, well, it's not even that, O'Donnell. You were talking about a man they don't even know, and they're just, she's over here saying that he needs help formulating his thoughts. I am no fan of if these positions of his are true on political issues, I'm no fan of his political ideology. Um, but nonetheless, I don't feel the need to try to make him sound as if his mind doesn't work or something. He's gonna have to hire a group of people to sit around with him and say, "Now, Kanye, are you sure you want to tweet this out?" He's gonna go, "Yeah, I'm sure," and it gets written on there. Isn't it funny that we have Obama president, then Trump? All right, I'll see you guys later.